Thank you. I'm gonna.
Okay, here we go. I'll go ahead and welcome everybody. This is Jill with Illuminating Women, and we are still in the pandemic, but we see light at the end of the tunnel. And what I'm really excited about tonight is we're on the topic about helping women keep their identity safe from fraud and how to repair your credit history. So I have got so excited to bring to you today our special guest speaker, and I'll let her do more of her introduction of who she is, where she is, what she's come from, and why she does what she does. But ladies, this is an important topic, and this is why this is being recorded. It'll be on the Illuminating Women YouTube channel. And Tierra, I want to welcome you to this place and take it away. Share a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, and we're excited to learn from you tonight. So everybody, welcome Tierra, and you are muted, so unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Jill. Can I get access to share my screen?
It should work. If not, let me remove the.
It says disabled.
One participant can share at a time. And sharing. All right, that should work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Jill, for having me here. I'm super honored. When I looked up Illuminating Women and your guys' mission and everything that you're about, I love that I'm able to be here and help educate. Is my screen showing?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So if I go to present, that should work. Okay, cool.
Click present. So it's showing your variety of your slides. So if you, there it goes. Now you're good.
Okay, yay.
Yay.
We did it. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Tierra Bonds. I'm the CEO of Take Charge Consulting, and I help people with everything credit related, whether it's personal or business. And then I am also working on adding business consulting to my services to help people launch and grow profitable businesses. So the topic today, like Jill said, is identity safety, and then a little bit on repairing your credit. So the goal, just 3 goals. I want to go over just some of the scams that are going on right now, and I dislike that word a lot. It's so negative, but it's real and it's happening, and we have to talk about it. That's the first step in protecting ourselves. So then we'll also talk about in other ways that we can protect ourselves from these types of things, and then a little bit on how to repair your credit. So before I get started, I just wanted to do just a quick little bit about me so you guys know where I'm from and why I do what I do. So I'm from Olympia, Washington. I moved to Seattle about 2.5 years ago, and so everything on the screen is like the most important thing to me. So family, of course, is first. Those are my 2 sisters, and then over in the right corner is my niece. She will be 1.5 next month, and she's just been like the joy. The joy. And I think it was Lauren talking about, moms and not only the impact that children make with them, but the extended family. And that's what Imani has been able to do for me. It's huge, and I get really emotional. So and then also my dog Kashmir, she just turned 6. And some just little things that I like. Traveling is a huge one. Anywhere with the beach and good drinks and good food, I would love to be there. As here in Washington, I think we're all in Washington, we lack the sun. So everywhere I travel to, sun has to be a factor in it. And then I'm a big foodie. The charcuterie board, that's one of my favorite things to eat, of course, and then also to make. You can get really creative with them. And then the champagne is a must as well. I love celebrating wins, whether they're small or big, and champagne just helps in that sometimes. So All right, so what is happening in the world right now? I think Jill mentioned it earlier. When anytime there's a pandemic or a financial, downturn, people get really, really, really creative. They get desperate, and also we're just easier to be victims. And so these types of scams have been going on all the time, but every time during a pandemic down or a financial downturn, they just get higher. So in 2019, there was about 16,000 identity theft cases, whereas in 2020, during those same months, just January to June, there was 18,000. So up 11%, and we all know what happened in 2020. And so I have my numbers wrong, sorry. So for 2020, it was 82 million in just 6 months. So from January to June, 82 million was the cost that was taken from people because of these types of scams. And then that's double from 2019. So it was 41 million in 2019. So that just shows, when things happen, when our economy is down, people just get really, really creative, and it's much, much easier to fall victim of these types of things. And so this is just some of the scams that I found. Bank loan scams, credit card scams, the emails that you get, they're also moving to text message, Social Security. And that's something that I've experienced, just a random phone number calling me and saying, your Social Security number is being compromised. And I could tell it was something wasn't right, but it was still scary. It was still, that worry of whoever's number this is, do they have my Social Security number? Like, am I at risk? It was very, very, very scary. So, and then there's so many more as well. I just want to touch on 2 of them. The first one being social media. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but there's the online dating scam. They also call it the romance scam, whereas people are meeting people on dating apps or social media apps, and the person says, hey, I live in the States, but I'm currently overseas because of work. I'm in the military, and it sounds very believable. There's real pictures, real, profiles. And so maybe not for us, but you can imagine just being, a young girl who's just like in awe of this person. And what they do is they move off of the app pretty quickly. They don't want to be on the app. They want to go to something different. And then it's just, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with catfish, but it's things like that. So they're just really quick and, professing their fake love for this person. And it's typically women that are victims of this. And then they come up with some emergency, some, damsel in distress type of thing. Whereas, my mom is in the hospital, I need to go visit her, but I don't have the money to do so. Or, I want to come visit you, but I don't have the money to do so. And so the victims will send money that way. And this has been happening for a long time. In 2016, it was, the amount lost was 75 million in about 10,000 cases. And now in last year, 2020, it was about 304 million with about 30,000 cases. And even if you look at the comparison just between 2020 and 2019, 202 million to 304 million. It's just, it's really, really, really scary. So, and then the next one I wanted to touch on were credit card scams. So there's 2 really popular ones. I'll talk about the overcharge. So what people are doing, and I don't know how they do this, but they can call you from a number that's the same as your bank. So if you look at the back of your credit card and it says, call this number for all, inquiries, they can call you from that same number somehow. And so if you're looking at the number, you're like, oh, this is my bank and they're calling me. And what they do is say, you know, one of your recent charges, you were overcharged on, and we want to fix this for you. Of course, they get your account information and they already have your name. So then you're thinking that it really is your bank. They know your name. They know the type of card you have, and they're calling from the number from your bank. So it's really, really easy for people to get caught up in things like that. And then they get your account info, credit card numbers, and all of that. And we can just imagine what happens from there. So I'm curious, Nicole or Jill, is there a way to do like the raise hand for people? I'm just curious if anyone has experienced anything like this.
Yes, they can raise their hand.
Okay, I think that's the best way to just maybe share our stories. I think part of the, you know, protecting us and learning about this is hearing real life stories from people.
Well, since we're recording this, oh, Lugita, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
I was just raising a hand. I have experienced some of that. Is that what you were trying to do?
Yeah, is that okay, Jill?
Yeah,
We can
it's
go
just
after
sharing
also.
stories. People may not want to share because this is being recorded.
Okay,
So,
Yeah.
but we can share that after the recording's done.
that sounds good. Let's
All
do that. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so how can we protect ourselves from all of these crazy things that are happening? My one tip is unknown numbers. I just don't answer. If there's a problem, you know, you can reach out to your bank or whatever the company is on your own. And I think that's a really, really easy way to just avoid any of people calling you to get info. And then making sure that you check your mail often, and not leave things in there for days or weeks is a really easy way for us to kind of avoid our information paperwork getting out there, as well as not leaving a paper trail. Know who you're dealing with. So if you do answer phone calls, make sure that you know it's your bank, or hang up and then call your bank on your own. That's what I would recommend. And then of course, be very defensive with your personal information. Don't give out anything. If your bank is calling you, they know your social security number. They know all of those things. So you don't need to give that out. And then the two pretty important ones as well, reviewing your credit card statements often. You'll just by doing that, you can find, you know, and it's a lot of times it's very little charges, but they're doing them very often. So you won't see it or feel it unless you're looking at your credit card statements. And so a lot of times they will maybe start small and then increase that way. So even if it's just, let's say, a $20 charge that you're not sure of, investigate it and look further into it. And then my biggest thing is always have credit monitoring. So myself and my clients use Identity IQ, and I got new credit cards back in July. And before I would even get the approval or, you know, application has been submitted online, let's say I got the one that I got was the Chase Sapphire card. Before it even went through on my end on my computer, I got an email from Identity IQ saying that this company just accessed your credit report. So that allows us to be able to, when we get alerts like that, to act on them fast, because that's the best way to secure your identity. And then there's tons of, Identity IQ is just one of them. There's tons of credit monitoring services out there. I'll post the link for this one, but just some of them only contact 2 of the credit bureaus. So there's 3 credit bureaus. And if they're only contacting 2, you're not all the way secure. So just make sure that you're getting one that uses all 3 of the credit bureaus and also provides protection for identity theft. That's super, super huge. Okay, so then repairing your credit, there's two things that you want to pay attention to. Because of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, we are allowed to, as consumers, to dispute anything on our credit report, whether it's ours or not. And the point is that the credit bureaus have to report 100% accurate information. And I've never saw a report where it's 100% accurate. So that law just helps us as consumers so that the credit bureaus don't get over on us. And if you see something on your credit report that's not yours or that's negative, we have the right to dispute it under that act. And just a couple tips on that is make sure that you're not doing it online. They make it really, really easy online. You can just press a button and dispute it. And what that does is it stops the credit bureaus from doing a full investigation. So basically the account is most likely going to still stay on your credit because they're not doing the investigation that they're supposed to do under the law. So if you dispute online, it's just kind of a done deal. And then they don't reinvestigate it, or they don't investigate it the first time. And then if you dispute again online, they don't even look into it. So the best way is literally snail mail, writing a letter, putting it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it, and sending it to the credit bureaus, which sounds crazy in 2021, but that's how you get the best results. And then another thing, I just talked to a new client today who had set up arrangements to pay the collection accounts on his credit report. He didn't understand the medical ones. He didn't know if they were his. He had medical insurance and was under the impression that everything was going to be paid, but they weren't too big of balances. So he just figured I'll just pay them off and set up payment plans with them. The issue with that is the accounts were already on his report. And so if, let's say he owed $500 and he paid it off to zero, that collection account would still have the same negative impact that it does today. The only difference would be that it would stay on his report longer by paying it today. So when you pay a collection account that's already on your credit report, it just starts the statute of limitations all over again. So let's say it went into collection 2 years ago, and then he paid it today, it's going to stay on there 7 years from today rather than 2 years ago. So the goal is, if you guys or anyone you know ever has a collection account that's reporting to their credit, the goal is to get it disputed and get it removed. And then you can work on, paying it if it's really yours. But when you do that, it's not going to help your credit while it's on there. So I have time or space for Q&A now. I know I went through all of that super, super, super fast. I also have tons of more tips. I can talk about credit all day long, and protecting our identity. So if you want more, you can just text your name and tips to that number, 206-971-1269. But I would love to answer questions from here.
So basically, before I'll stop the recording here in a little bit so that women can ask you questions without it being recorded. But so what is why are some of the reasons people need to have their credit repaired? And maybe how do they know if they need to get it repaired? They may not even know. Can that be a truth?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. So I didn't go into my story, but I started off with bad credit literally right when I turned 18. So I gave a car away and we didn't transfer the seller's report or the buyer's report, something like that we were supposed to process with DMV. And so the day after I gave my car away, they got in an accident, it got totaled and it got towed. And it was on my report because the car was still in my name. And so since then, I just didn't have a good start with credit, and I felt that it wasn't my problem. And the bill got up to about $3,000 at the towing company, and I'm 18. I'm working for Department of Corrections. I had a decent job at this time, but it was still a lot of money for me to just give away when it wasn't mine. And I figured, I knew that credit was somewhat important, and I would take care of it later down the road when I'm an adult. It wasn't an issue for me at 18. And so it kind of just continued to go downhill, and it got to a point that I knew it was bad and I was scared to check it. So when you say, do people not know if they need their credit repaired, that is a real thing, because for me, I didn't want to check it. I was scared to check it. So I'm also doing complimentary credit checks. So we can just go look at your report, go through it, and see if there's anything on there together that needs to be fixed.
So besides, that's a great story. Thank you, because that was some really good information. So medical bills are something that we could be surprised by.
Yep.
An old cable bill can sometimes be a surprise. So it's what do you recommend that we do to kind of keep an eye on our, because that can sometimes be involved with our identity. So other than love the points about, I thought that was very valuable point, that looking at our bank statements and seeing that it could be a $20 here, that we might not think anything about it, because I can tell you, sometimes I look at mine and I see such and such, and I'm like, well, it's only $20. I don't know where this exactly, I don't remember, to reconcile those things. So, is there any other thing that you can say there, and to kind of wrap up, and then I'll stop the recording and then we can talk here.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to number one, have credit monitoring in place, because if it's a good one, you're going to get an alert right away. So if a collection account gets on your credit report, you're going to get notified via email. Or if someone runs your credit trying to get a credit card, you're going to get an email literally automatically. So that would be the number one thing. And then also just checking your report very, very often. I think society says once a year with, annualcreditreport.com, but that is not enough. At 365 days, there's so many things that could happen. So if you don't have a credit monitoring service, at least once a month, I would say to check your credit and just make sure that all the accounts on there are positive. And if there's anything negative on there, that it's yours, and then go with repairing it.
Okay. And this is where we've got your deal up here. I want to make certain I take a picture of it, because so this is how people can reach you.
Yes, that is perfect. The complimentary credit checks, I can post it in the chat, but for people watching the recording, it's the website for that is takechargecc.as.me. And maybe we can email this, Jill, to make it easier, but and then just use the code Illuminate for that to make it complimentary.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, well, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank everybody who plugged in to watch this video, and you can reach out to Tierra, join us for some other Illuminating Women activities. And Nicole, if you will be so kind to stop the recording, and see you at another Illuminating Women event.